Welcome to the No Quit Living podcast, where we aim to inspire and motivate people to never give up on themselves or their dreams. We will chat with highly successful people from all walks of life and discuss what motivates and drives them to successfully attack life head on and never give up. Welcome to episode number 86 of the No Quit Living podcast. I'm your host, Christopher J. Worth, and today's theme of the day is hope. Our quote of the day comes to us from Christopher Reeve. Once you choose hope, anything is possible. Today's episode is sponsored by the Rocket Entrepreneur. Are you ready for a breakthrough in your business? Learn from myself and 25 other successful influencers and thought leaders sharing how to make 2018 your best year yet. We're going to give you specific advice and strategies to help you break through your plateau and make 2018 your most profitable year ever. This online event is 100% free, and you can watch the interviews on your own time when it fits your schedule. The online event is called The Rocket Entrepreneur. Blast past plateau and make more money than ever in 2018. Please visit www.therocketentrepreneur.com. Once again, that's www.therocketentrepreneur.com. It is my pleasure to bring you today's episode, which features my good friend, Rob Decker. Although I've only known Rob for a couple of months, we have quickly become good friends. In today's episode, he speaks about hope, the importance of second chances, and paying it forward. Rob attempted to commit suicide and give up on life, but God saved him, and now Rob is committed to sharing his story with others to inspire people through and with hope to never give up. I hope you enjoy today's very real and raw episode. Rob, I'd like to welcome you to the No Quit Living podcast.
Thank you. I'm glad to be here, man. Thanks, Chris.
First question I ask everybody is, and I know the answer is, are you ready to make it happen today? And we become friends offline, and I know you're an unbelievably successful trainer doing some crazy workouts, so I'm going to skip over that question because I know you're ready.
I'm absolutely been ready, man. Let's do it.
So, talking offline, we've developed a friendship and a relationship, and I think you have an unbelievable no-quit story. So I was hoping if you could just briefly share your no-quit story with our listeners.
Yeah, for sure. My no-quit story actually comes from quitting, right? I quit life, really, and that's a real situation. I think I committed the cardinal sin, and I was trapped in a situation that I put myself in, and I backed myself into a corner in life. And, I was dating a young woman and eventually came up against attempted murder and rape charges, which led me to jump headfirst out of a window based on these felonious charges. And my intention was to snap my neck and take myself out of this life. And that's definitely not what happened. So one of those times in life where I'm glad that I failed, right?
If you wouldn't mind sharing a little bit what happened after that, because I think when we talked offline, that story after that is just, it's remarkable where it went when you obviously didn't succeed in that failed attempt.
Yeah, absolutely. So virtually what happened is that I was involved with a young lady, and we had a pretty iffy relationship, and I wasn't doing much with my life at the time. And we were hanging at her house one night, and things got a little, they were supposed to get into being intimate, but I was having a lot of issues with stuff that was going on in her life and stuff that was going on in my life. And, I went downstairs to go to sleep and to kind of just shake off, the arguing and so have it. And I heard a loud banging at the door, man. And, she comes downstairs and I look at her and ask her what's going on. And she says, I called the cops and I told them that you tried to rape and kill me. And in that moment, based on everything that had already been going on in my life since I was a young kid, and I was 29 years old with not much going on, I just looked at her and I said, I can't do this. And I jumped headfirst out of the window. And during the fall, I'd clipped an awning, and it changed my fall, and I ended up shattering my left arm, broke my right wrist, broke my L2, which is a big vertebrae in the lower back, and I collapsed my lung. And my ability to walk was just taken away from me. And I remember the ambulance showing up, and I couldn't breathe, and I was in so much pain. And they sent me to the hospital, and I had surgery. It was like an 8 or 9 hour surgery on my arms and my back. And the next day after the surgery, to add insult to injury, the detective showed up at the hospital and slapped the cuffs on me and said, "You're under arrest for attempted murder and rape." And I laid there in the bed and just in awe and not knowing what to do. And I didn't know what to do with my life. There was no future. The only thing I had going for me was the fitness stuff. I mean, that's the only thing I was doing at that time, was working out. Well, as I was laying in that hospital bed, the police officer who had to watch me for 24 hours, I was on constant watch so that I wouldn't run, even though I couldn't I couldn't go anywhere. He started grilling me pretty hard. And while he was in the midst of grilling me, my ex-girlfriend had walked in, the one that had accused me, and the cop looked up and was just like, "This makes no sense to me whatsoever." So a few days later, they dropped the charges. I was very fortunate for that. But my next challenge was, man, I got to learn how to walk again. I got to walk. And I couldn't even sit up in the bed. So a week after that, I had another back surgery, and I was able to get out of bed and kind of drag my leg on the ground. I wasn't able to use the left side of my body too much. It was more of a drag. It wasn't really of a walk. But, I had some hard work ahead of me, man. I had to really learn this whole thing. And on top of it, with a 6-week stay in a hospital, that first 2 weeks, my hospital bill was about $834,000. And this was a long road. After that, there was still like 2 or 3 more surgeries on my arms. I had another open back surgery. I had at least 30 hours worth of back surgeries just so I could somewhat move. I was thrown on all sorts of medications. I was Dilaudid and Valium and Oxycontin, Percocet, Vicodin. They just were pumping me full of stuff. And then sleep medication to try to help me sleep at night. And, I just got into this place where it was just like, this is where I got close to God. This was like my God moment, and I realized I was here for a reason. I lived a very, very, very troubled life. This was a very troubling situation, but I had a lot to offer. And this is when I decided, I have to fight the good fight. I got to get to a place where I'm walking again and moving again and training again. And the doctors were already telling me I was never going to walk again, let alone get under a bar or lift any weights, or I was going to be constantly medicated for the rest of my life. At best, this was my neurosurgeon. He said, you might be able to go grocery shopping and be able to do that for yourself. But other than that, I don't know about the quality of your life. So what happened is that in the midst of all that, a buddy let me live with him, and I was staying in their garage as I was healing. And what I was doing was I was going to the gym, and I would lift weights, and I'd be taken out for like 2, 3, 4 days at a time, because the healing process of the back and then training on top of it just to kind of get everything going again. It would take me out. But, those 4 days turned into 3 days of recovery. The 3 days turned into 2 days of recovery. And before you know it, I was back in the gym. And then after that, I went to a local church and started working with a youth group so that I could start working with these young troubled kids, and started just talking to them, and then that's how it all really started for me, and having that like no quit attitude. And at some point, I was still struggling with the alcohol to kind of medicate myself. But at some point it was like, that has to stop, these things, getting off the pain medication, that had to stop, because knowing the human body, being in the health industry, like I know what drugs do to the body. And I knew that I could use it for a little while, but at some point, all that stuff had to be eliminated from my life. So with that being said, now I'm trying to, through my fitness training and speaking, like I'm trying to go places. I'm trying to share my story with people, give them some speak life into them, some encouragement, some inspiration, because, we've all had a tough life, right? But sometimes you just need someone that's been through it too, and I feel like I've been there and I have a lot to offer.
I haven't done many of these shows now. I don't know if there's anybody that I would say has a more no quit story than you. And the irony of this all is that it actually became true and it became real life because of a quit story. And I think you were hit with something that I don't think anybody can say they know exactly what you're going through and they were there. But what I think most of our listeners can agree with is that at some point in their lives, surely in my you've been hit with, and we will get hit with many different obstacles. And regardless of how big or how small, the choice is the same at the end of that obstacle. At the end of that road is, are you going to do something and make a positive difference or make a positive change, or are you going to stay the course? And I think to your credit, you didn't do that. And one thing I would just love for you to just briefly mention is, you mentioned all the drugs and things you're at and how your doctor said to you that maybe you'd be able to go grocery shopping. If you wouldn't mind just telling our audience how many drugs you're on today.
Absolutely none. Fitness is my drug, right? I don't need them. I don't need the drugs. I understand the human body, and I know that with the amount of hardware, that's $2 million worth of hardware and physical therapy and surgeries that have, that have taken place on my frame, in my body. And, to this day, I take absolutely nothing. I don't even take ibuprofen or aspirin when things start to hurt. I foam roll, I stretch, I breathe. I know that if my core is extremely strong, my back is stable. And so I don't drink, I don't do drugs. Something that definitely had to be eliminated from my life. I wanted to fight the fight to the point where, I wanted to be this guy who could go out. I play competitive sports still. I'm playing competitive softball leagues, and I'm running, I'm jumping, I'm sliding, I'm diving, I'm doing all these things that a 22-year-old healthy body can do. If you were to look at me, you'd be like, he's a perfectly healthy human being. But that's what I wanted to achieve out of all that. I wanted people to look at me like there's nothing wrong with this guy. Well, there's always, you can't judge a book by its cover, right?
No, you definitely can. And the best part about doing these podcasts and these shows is you can't judge a book by its cover. And when you get a chance to connect with somebody like you that has an incredible story and perseverance and no quit and making a positive difference, it's remarkable. So here's a different question for you. One of the things we use on every show is a daily quote. And I was curious if you had a favorite quote.
Man, I'm going to pull this. This is something that I use often. If you've been on my social media, which you have, I think it's the one thing that I probably quote the most. But for me, this is for me personally. I want to inspire people. I want someone to look at me and say, because of you, I didn't give up. And I want that. I want people not to give up because they heard my story. There are going to be times in my life where someone's going to hear my story. I don't get to look them eye to eye, and they don't get to tell me, hey, I didn't give up because of you. But just knowing that possibility is out there, that is a quote that definitely encourages me.
No, that's awesome. And tough question to ask in regard to what you're at, but maybe it might make some sense to our listeners. If you could go back and give the 20-year-old version of yourself one piece of advice, what would that be?
The 20-year-old version, that's tough. The challenge in all that is because of the life that I live and the experiences that I do have, it's hard to even take anything back and to alter anything, because I feel very thankful and very blessed for everything I've been through, because now I can share with people. So to my 20-year-old self, that's a good question. And, we should always be prepared for that question, right? Never lose hope. Never lose hope. I think that when it came to that moment, I was in a hopeless situation. And, without hope, we quit. It's what we do. Whether you're jumping out of windows, whether you're hitting the bottle or or eating pills, like you're finding a way to quit on yourself. And I say never lose hope. Hope is a powerful drug.
That is awesome. Hope is a very powerful drug. So here's a different question for you. If you could have dinner with anyone, dead or alive, who would it be and why?
Wow. Well, this is where my faith comes in. If I could actually meet Jesus Christ in the flesh, like see him eye to eye and just like thank him for what he's done in my life, that's who I would definitely meet. Other than that, there's maybe Zig Ziglar, maybe that guy. He was a pretty motivational guy. And I know that he was pretty sound in his faith as well. And he encouraged and motivated a lot of people. But other than that, I don't know. I'm actually more fortunate to meet people like yourself and to meet people that I can run across on a daily basis, where I get to hear about their life and make an impact on them, and they can make an impact on me, regardless what they've been through. I never compare my situation to other people's, and everyone handles things differently. They filter things differently. So, I'm always fortunate just to meet people, everyday people, and to love on them and to learn from them.
That's awesome. And Zig Ziglar was one of my all-time favorite, and his son Tom was on one of our earlier podcasts, and it was an awesome experience.
Right, I can only imagine. That's some good blood right there, some good genes.
Yeah, no, the Ziglars they make good ones. So I know we spoke offline about some of the really neat things you're doing, not only in the fitness world, but also recently launching your website, and you're going to be getting out there on the speaking tour, and as you mentioned, sharing your story. And I think the most remarkable part about your story is that you're using it now to impact others in a positive way, and I think that's just inspiring in many ways. So if you wouldn't mind briefly telling us a little bit about some of the stuff you're doing, as well as where our listeners could connect with you or follow you.
Absolutely. So right now this is all very fresh for me. I had the honor of meeting Evan Money, which is eventually how I got to you. But right now I'm trying to kind of follow in his footsteps a little bit. I've created my own website. It's robdeckerspeaks.com. It's very, very new. It's very fresh. I don't have much up right now. I'm just trying to gather stuff and put it together. Right now I'm working with a couple individuals at Celebrate Recoveries at some local churches and Rolling Hills Estates and LA. Some speaking engagements where I can share my story with people. One of the members at my gym, he's the board of directors, or one of them, at the Boys and Girls Club. So he's working on something for me where I can go speak to them as well. Other than that, I'm going to continue to do my best to reach out to guys like yourself, girls like yourself, or that do what you do, and continue to share the story. And everyone may have a different take on it and want to pull information. I have an extensive life. There's so much I could talk about outside of just this one major event. So right now, that's what it is. It's the website, once again, robdeckerspeaks.com. You can always email me at rob@robdeckerspeaks.com. That's a good way to get a hold of me. You can always find me on social media, Rob Decker. I'm on Instagram and Facebook. So if you need to reach out or you want to talk about something or share, I'm more than happy to respond. And other than that, I'm just going to keep walking my daily walk and work with these individuals that I work with and keep pouring into their lives and trying to be a light to them. So hopefully, all this stuff will add up to where I'll be at in bigger venues and being able to be a light of hope for people.
No, I think it's incredible, and I appreciate you sharing your contact information. We'll also put some of those in the show notes as well. And before we let you go, Rob, I wanted to ask if you have any parting words you'd like to leave with our listeners.
Yeah, never give up, man. Don't quit. It's easy for me. It's what I did, and I've learned from those experiences, and I get to share those experiences. And I know that sometimes we have to experience things in life to really appreciate life. I just say, don't quit and find those people that are just pouring goodness and positivity and love into your life. You're always going to have your skeptics. When I was getting back into all this, like, people were grilling me about working out and you shouldn't be doing this. But you know what? I trusted the process. I trusted the fact that I know that I have a purpose and I'm supposed to be here doing something. And I knew what that purpose was, or at least I had an idea. So, don't quit, don't give up, and surround yourself by good people.
I think you left us with some great parting words there, and I think those are things we often talk about in different shows, and it's so great to have different people talk about them, because the premise of our show is obviously to never give up and to quit, to never give up and to never quit, and to surround yourself with those good people. And I think that's the best part about life is through social media today and through different podcasts and things, we're able to connect with different people in a much quicker, easier fashion. And I just wanted to thank you, Rob, for not only being on our show, but also sharing your story with us and being very candid, because I think at the end of the day, a lot of people have things in their life and encounter different things, and they kind of crawl up into a shell, or more importantly, sometimes people just keep it inside, and I'm not a doctor, so I can't say the medical terminology behind the pros and cons of doing that. But again, just wanted to thank you for not only your candor, but also the fact that you are doing something with your story, and I can tell you, you haven't even scratched the surface as far as where you're going to go.
Well, thank you, Chris. And honestly, I really appreciate you, and I appreciate your guidance and your friendship and all this. You've been huge for me, and I'm very grateful for you, man. So thank you. And thank you for all the stuff that you do outside of the podcast, man. I just see you posting on social media. So good for you, man. Way to go out there and make a difference.
I appreciate it, brother. The one thing we talk about probably almost on every episode in some way, shape, or form is the pay it forward concept. And I'm very fortunate in the people I have in my world. I got some great family, some great friends, so I'm always looking to pay it forward. So thank you, and I definitely look forward to speaking with you soon.
Thanks, Chris. I appreciate you, buddy.
Thank you for listening to episode number 86. I wanted to thank Rob Decker for sharing his story with us today. Although the topic and subject of his story might be difficult for some people to hear, Rob's second chance helped him find hope, his purpose, and his mission of helping others. Rob's very candid interview, I hope, will inspire people to help others and to never quit on themselves. I believe in life we can learn from others. I am so grateful to Rob for both his friendship as well as his transparency on today's episode. My challenge and call to our listeners today is very simple. Reach out to a friend or a loved one that you haven't spoken or heard from in a while. Don't assume anything, just do it because. Be a friend to someone that might be in need, and just reach out to show that you care. Be that positive force for somebody else as you go for your greatness. And lastly, to our listeners, thank you. We truly appreciate your time, and we hope our episodes inspire you to keep on attacking life and never giving up. To quote Dr. Norman Vincent Peale, it's always too early to quit.